So an official welcome this time to everyone to today's IPC&M CPD Building Masterclass. For those who don't know me, my name is Julie Kennedy from the Netherlands. If you can believe it, by this tan, we had 3 days of sun. I seem to have absorbed every single ray there was. Now, our speaker today is accredited master coach, emotional fitness coach, and team coach, B. Flanagan. So welcome, B. I, on a personal note, was just so happy to read all that you're doing about positive assertive life skills for preteens and teenagers in schools around the UK. Now, I'm based in the Netherlands, and it's a very hot topic, the emotional and mental well-being of younger people nowadays, especially since Corona. So my only hope is that you move broader than around the UK and take this international in all these international schools we have everywhere.
I'm based in Ireland, actually, Julie, so I'm hoping to expand into the UK. So maybe that will open doors for me there as well.
Well, I really hope you do, because I find it's one of the most important things we need to do right now. Okay, so that was one part of my introduction of B. We always ask for a fun fact, and I thought it was really exciting that B actually ran as a candidate for the local elections with a 6-week lead time, which sounds absolutely frantic. And before I let you all in, we were actually talking about that, about stepping outside of our comfort zone and how we grow, especially when we let go of the expectations. So well done, B, on saying yes, right?
Thank you. It was a bit crazy, all right, but all good.
Sounds crazy to me, but you did it,
Character building.
Yeah, exactly. And it ties in properly with our talk, because I think it's a bit the same idea as a TEDx talk, right? You have to take yourself outside of your comfort zone. But before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping. So there's basically, the session is an hour in all. B's going to do it very interactively. It would be good if you stay muted when there's not actually a question, maybe, just to keep the sound stable for all of us. But it's great if you put your video on. I mean, B, however, if you say, well, look, as long as the group doesn't become too big, we just leave our microphones on, then whatever you prefer. You can also use the chat box for questions, suggestions, and I will man that for you. B, so topic today, becoming a TEDx speaker. So what I learned and what I would do differently next time. And I think even for those of us who haven't dared say it out loud, it's something which, it really means something to be a TEDx speaker, right? So I hope you have your CPD pad and pen ready, because I'd like to know, for one, how to become a TEDx speaker. And I love the fact that actually B said it's a year today, right?
Yes, the anniversary. It was actually yesterday, the 1st of July. Oh my goodness, the rain is just after starting here. It's pelting down. So I don't know, it's gotten quite dark and you can't hear it. Oh, that's good.
No.
Yes, thank you for that, Julie. It's so good to be back in the room with you and doing another master class for everybody. And hello to everybody. And please feel free to add any comments, or it's great to see some familiar faces there. I see Micheline and I see Charlotte. Thank you. And please just pop in the chat or pop your hand up if you have a question that you want to ask during the class, please. That's how I would like this to run, if that's all right. And also the fact that I was put on the spot, not necessarily the red TEDx spot, when I talked to Dawn a couple of weeks ago when I had the coffee and the chat, Julie, and she said, why don't you do a masterclass? And then all of a sudden it was picked out, and the date was set. And when I looked at the date and I thought the 2nd of July, and it's 1 year on the 1st of July, I really felt it had come full circle. So it's perfect timing. Perfect timing. So if anybody, what I'd like to ask before we start is, I don't know if everybody's seen my TEDx talk, and it's great to have a fellow TEDxer. Micheline is the TEDx speaker, so it's great to have you in the audience. Thanks, Micheline. I don't know if we have any other TEDx speakers. If we do, please let me know. But obviously we have some people who would like to become a TEDx speaker, so hopefully this will give you some insight as well. And take a little bit of the mystified side of it out, because it's not actually something that the perception is that it's a huge thing to achieve or to approach, but it's actually not. It's actually Somebody said not being bold enough to do it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is hopefully give you the inspiration to just take that chance to do something like this. But also think about, is there something else coming up that this might help you with? So maybe you have a presentation to do. Maybe you have an interview you'd like to go on radio and talk about what you do. Or maybe you want to write a script or a story about what you do, or start a podcast. Like, there's lots of different things that will allow you to get your message outside. So stepping outside your comfort zone in that, it's just about starting, really. So has anybody got any idea of what they would like to get from today's class? And also, I'd like you to check in with how you're feeling right now. So if anybody has seen my TEDx talk, you might know that that's a lot of the work I do around emotional fitness. So if everybody wants to just maybe type in how you're feeling, just tune in with how you're feeling at the moment. I'm feeling very excited. I'm feeling buzzed, but then I've had a busy morning too, and it's been really great to get the opportunity to reflect back a year to the day almost on my TED talk, to be able to speak to all of you about it. So how are you all feeling? If you want to answer verbally, you can. Be delighted to hear how you're feeling.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, is it Anna?
Hi, Anna.
Hi. I feel excited. I love the topic of well-being and youngsters and how we can really be the best we can be. And we are here to contribute. One of my main fears is that almost that is thinking, who do I think I am? Is a bit of that. And this fear of showing off, really wanting to come across as not serious in the sense, being really committed, and just getting that kind of balance between what you know and how you put it across, etc. I'm excited.
Very good.
And I will be listening. I will listen to your talk. I haven't done that yet.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. And it'd be nice to hear some feedback to see what you think. And you're right when you say that. Authenticity is really important. And I think that's what you meant there as well, Anna, to show that you know what you're talking about, that you're very authentic about it. And it's ironic that my jacket today says, just be you. I didn't know that when I was buying it. So it's very important that we are just being ourselves. And I think when you get to hear a little bit more of the journey that I went through, there was a lot of self-sabotage. There was a lot of second guessing. There was a lot of, who am I? How can I do this? Is it going to work? And that overthinking and that energy that brought in the overthinking actually got in my way. And when I look at what I would do differently, yes, I wouldn't change a single thing of how it happened, because I learned so much from it, but I certainly would do a few things differently, which I'll fill you in on later on. So that's brilliant. Thank you. Can I
just add something else? Can I just add something else? Is this idea of not wanting to be negative, to really take that message of hope and believe that something can be done. So anything is said, not said, oh gosh, you're negative and doom and gloom. So it's literally learning how to do it and giving their hope, at the same time being real about what's actually happening.
Yes, and that's a really, really valid point, because there is that, I would consider myself a positive realist, because there's a lot of things to be grateful for. There's a lot of things that work really well, but to be clued in to know that there are challenges. And particularly if we're coaches and if we're working with young people, we're going to hear those challenges, and we need to be real with them and give them the space to hear them, but also give them the hope, as you say, that actually with a few small tips and strategies and a few habits that you build up gradually day by day, you will actually see positive results. And it's really important. One of the things that as a coach myself, I discovered when I meet my clients where they're at, that's the best way to take a session forward. Not to think I know where they're going to be or where they have been. It's where they're at in that moment. And we all know that some days we feel much stronger than we do on other days. And you may have experience when you work with clients that they'll say, if I'd have seen you yesterday, I was in great form yesterday. We would have had a super session. And I'm like, yes, but we're meeting today. And this is the reason why we're here, because this is the real situation today. And then another time you'll meet a client and go, oh my God, if I'd have met you yesterday, I would have been a mess. But today I feel so much better. And that's life. That's reality. So from an authenticity point of view, what I really discovered was to be the you that you are, no matter where you are and what situation you're in. And one of the biggest challenges I had at the beginning of the TEDx process was I was trying to be somebody else. Not because I didn't want to be authentic and real, but I was following what I perceived were the plans and what should be done in order to be a TEDx speaker. So if I bring it back to the beginning, and the beginning is probably going back 10 years ago, and I put on my vision board, I don't know if anybody uses a vision board or have ways that you kind of look at things in the future that you want to see. I put on my vision board TEDx speaker. And I didn't know how or when or if, but I just knew it was something I wanted to do. But probably the greatest thing that happened then was I forgot about it. I actually forgot about that. I put it on my vision board. And I think when we forget about something and we just trust that it'll happen, that's a much easier way to achieve certain things than keep going back and focusing on them and going, when is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? And I almost missed the opportunity to do the TEDx because I was away when the applications went out, and my lovely friend Micheline, thank you for being here, Micheline, sent me a link, and I know you won't mind me sharing this, Micheline. She sent me a link and said, I think I might apply for this TEDx. I was like, yes, absolutely, but so will I. This is what we have to do. This was like, it just landed. And not only did it just land, but it landed in my little village, that we have a theatre in my village, and it was going to be held there. That was even more, unreal, nearly unbelievable. But I was like, oh my God, this is what I've wanted, and it's landed. So at that point, I was really excited, and I thought, this is great. Now, with TEDx, and TEDx is like the localized TED Talk. So you'll have the global TED Talks. And then when you look at TEDx, that's very much, there might be a TEDx. If you're in England, there might be a TEDx London. There might be a TEDx Brighton, or there might be a TEDx in Holland. Maybe you'll have a TEDx Amsterdam, and this was TEDx Rathoads, which is the small village I live in County Meath, which is in Ireland. So it's outside of Dublin. But I had seen people in the past, people I would have known on social media, putting out that they were doing a TEDx talk. And I was like, how are they doing this? How is this happening? How come they got the opportunity to do it? And I really want to do it. But I hadn't really looked into how to do it. It was actually very, very good that the universe landed it in my lap, so to speak, And then I kind of thought, this is what I want to do. So let's go through the process. But TEDx have quite stringent rules and policies that you have to adhere to. And one thing I've discovered about myself, and in my young 53 years of age, that I was still, so I was 52 when I did TEDx. I was still what you would consider a rule follower. Now, I am not saying we should break the rules or do things that aren't allowed, but I'm a stringent rule follower, which was a little bit to my detriment for this occasion. I didn't know at the time, but it was. So there's a policy to follow the rules, apply for your audition, write your outline of your speech, your talk. Your talk cannot last any longer than 15 minutes. And the theme of all TEDx talks are ideas worth spreading. So that's kind of the banner of everything when there's a TEDx talk or a TED talk. It's an idea worth spreading. So what is it that you feel you have as an idea that's worth spreading? So, of course, I immediately in my head went into, all the work I do with young people, talking about PALS, sharing the emotional fitness tips that I have, wanting to, have a platform nearly to speak to people about what I believe in and what works for me. Well, the underpinning of this particular TEDx talk, and would be in most localized ones, is there's a theme. So the theme for our talk was, it takes a village. So when I read that theme, I literally went, wow, this is my talk. It takes a village. I had moved here to Rathoth in 2005 after going through a divorce, separation and divorce with my kids, and they were only 4 and 6. And it was like out in the country, miles away. I didn't know anybody. I knew one person who had told me there was new houses in Rathoth and that I should go there. And I actually am so glad. I've been 19 years here now in August. And it literally, for me, it does take a village. And I just thought, from all aspects of what I do and work, whether I work with my clients one-to-one, my community activist work that I do, you know, volunteering, being part of all our local community initiatives, and also working with teenagers and young adults in school and one-to-one, I just thought, it takes a village. I'm part of this village and I want to give back. And I decided to do my talk based around my journey to moving to this village and the 17 years until the talk, are almost 18 years. So that was my focus. And I thought, great, I can put this into, you know, a beginning, a middle and an end. And I feel I could probably, I drafted it a couple of times. I recorded myself. Does everybody use, there's a great app, a voice memo app, or there's probably lots of different ones out there. But it's a great app for recording yourself if you want to practice a speech or a talk or a presentation, or just even to hear your voice. Does everybody like the sound of their own voice when they hear it? That's probably one of the biggest challenges, isn't it? When we look back or we listen and go, oh my God, is that how I sound? Or was that what I was saying? And to be honest with you, I love the sound of my voice. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I just love the sound of my voice. It's like I've learned to love it, because that's my voice. I may sound different to me than I do to other people, but having the ability to speak and say what you want to say, whether it's, you know, to share a story or just have a conversation, it's wonderful. And the people who know us love our voices, so we should really love our voices. So that's probably one of the greatest tips to take away from today, is to start practicing hearing yourself speak, record yourself, play yourself, a podcast nearly, you know, what would I like to do? Because when you hear it back, you might say, that's actually not what I want to say. That's not coming across the way I want it to. This is the way I'd like to say it. So the voice recording app is basically voice memo. I'll see if I can show you here now, even just to see it. I use it for everything. Voice memo. Let me just see if it shows it's that one there. Voice memo. And you can record, and then you can save it, you can edit it, you can duplicate it, you can WhatsApp it to somebody if you're recording a session that you want to send to somebody. It's really, really, it's a great way. It's a great way to learn to like the sound of your voice and listen to the sound of your voice. So all of that was really great. And I got working about it. I was playing it through the car when I was driving around, and I was, you know, getting a feel for what my talk was about. And the audition was on the 22nd of April. So I was like, right, I'm all set for this audition on the 22nd of April. And sadly, on the 21st of April, my dad was rushed into hospital. Now, he was sick. He has since passed away, but he was sick along for 2 or 3 years beforehand, but he was getting progressively worse. And we thought he was after having a stroke. So I rushed to the hospital. The irony was, at 12 o'clock that day, I was ready to put my phone on airplane mode and say, right, the next 6 hours are all for me. They're all for me in preparation for my audition. I'm going to knock it out of the park. I'm going to have it ready. I'm going to have it rehearsed and remembered word for word. And I had all that. And just before I turned off the phone on silent or on airplane mode, my mum rang to say Dad wasn't well and that they'd called an ambulance. So I put everything into the bag, including my prep for the talk, because I said, if I'm stuck in A&E, I'm going to have to prepare for this. I'm going to have to get it done. I'm there tomorrow at 12 o'clock and I have to get it done. And I remember I sent everybody home and I was standing with my dad. He was in one of the cubicles and I was reading. He was asleep, but I was reading my talk out loud, you know, walking around as if, and here I am and this and that. And a nurse came into me. She says, is everything okay? And I said, yeah. She said, are you rehearsing for a play or something? Like you're all this and you're all that. And I said, look, I've got a big audition tomorrow. And I can't believe. And I was saying that to my dad. I was like, I have a big audition tomorrow. What are we doing? Anyway, I came home. Dad was okay that night. He stayed. He actually didn't come back out of hospital. So he was in the whole way until he passed away in August. But anyway, I came home and I said to my daughter, I can't do this talk off the cuff. Now, I always talk off the cuff. I never rehearse a script. I never write anything. I have my notes and I've got my notes for today, but I don't rehearse off a script. And this was the beginning of the downfall for me in my process, because I started to overthink. And I was overthinking, how do I write this? How does it sound? It was my story. It wasn't fabricated. It was real. As you said, Anna, it was authentic. It was exactly me. But I got so caught up with this has to come in first and this has to come in first and that has to come in then and I have to say this. And it was like I took a full blank. I went blank. So I said to my daughter, I better write it on cue cards. I don't do cue cards, but I'll do them tomorrow. And I'll explain that my dad's in hospital. And she was like, it's a bit like telling the teacher you didn't do your homework or the dog ate your homework, ma'am. I said, I know, but maybe, you know, they'll understand because I really want to do this and I know what I want to say. Anyway, the audition happened. I was successful and I was told that I would be on the TEDx stage in 6 weeks' time. I think it was 6 weeks. I seem to love doing things in a 6 weeks period. Don't I, Julie? There's something about that. I had 6 weeks, I think, to do it. Anyway, I sent in my first draft, and you can get somebody that comes to curate and they manage the event. And when I got the feedback, I got the feedback that I had taken the title literally, you know, that I was actually, you know, it takes a village. I had taken it literally. And I was like, yeah, I have, because for me, my story is literally how the village has given me what I now have, a very successful, happy home. Look, my children are now adults. They were educated here. They did all their community games, everything. And I was asked to change it, which is absolutely fine. You know, you change the draft, but it was like having a 1,000-piece jigsaw and then being told, smash that all up, and there's going to be 5 more pieces that you have to fit in with that, and then put it all together. So that started my self-doubt, that self-sabotage, that imposter syndrome. What are you doing? This is just too much. Meanwhile, my dad is still in hospital and very sick. And I was kind of balancing loads of things at the same time. And I think for me, the importance and the priority of doing the TEDx talk became twofold. It became such a high risk event in my head, and also not enough attention to it. And I don't know if that makes sense. So it started to be, in my mind, diluted. Anyway, fast forward to the second draft and then the third draft. And the night before the TEDx talk, we had a rehearsal. And I drew another blank. I was like, what is going on here? How am I drawing a blank? I know what I want to say. I know what I'm talking about. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank. So I got the TEDx cue cards and I said, I'm going to have them as a backup. Now, for me, that backup became what I felt at the time was nearly like another area of sabotage, because I kept overthinking. I don't use cue cards, but here I am with them in my hand. I don't use cue cards, but here I am with my hand. Or maybe they're an anchor. I don't know if anybody does work where they're doing presentations or they're on stage for something, and it's nice to have an anchor. I would be, yeah. So you know that feeling. I'm an MC, so I do fashion shows, award ceremonies, presentations, and I have a microphone. That's my anchor. Once that microphone is in my hand, I'm grounded. Or if I'm doing a presentation and I have a zapper, there's my anchor, I'm in. So then I thought to myself, well, maybe the cue cards will be my anchor. Not my nemesis now, my anchor. But I don't know what way it was all kind of materializing. So I didn't really sleep very well the night before. Now, the other thing to mention, the stage that I was on, I have been on that stage so many times. I know it so well. It's not like it was unfamiliar to me. I've done different events. I've been on it for maybe over the last 12 years, regularly on that stage. So the assumption was that I would be feeling the same on that stage. But when I went out onto the stage for rehearsal, and Micheline, you'll probably remember this as well, 3 big cameras, like in your face, but not in your face. And it's like, and really spotlights. And it's like, okay, you're not going to look at the cameras, but the cameras are going to take you and edit you so that when your talk is done, it has a few different angles on it. So immediately for me, I had a barrier between me and my audience. I'm used to speaking to people and feeling their energy and seeing them. But as much as, and this was in a rehearsal, so the theatre wasn't full. There might have been 3 or 4 people, but the barrier to me were these cameras. And I've done TV presenting courses. I'm used to having a camera there in front, but it was just so surreal. And again, I think for me, it was overthinking, taking it to the extremes, because I know if I hadn't have applied or done an audition or had anything to do with TEDx, and I'd have been walking through the village that Saturday morning and somebody had ran out and said to me, B, they're short a speaker today. Would you just come in? It's only 15 minutes. It's grand, there's cameras, you know, the stage. Oh my God, I probably would have just went, yeah, and loved it. But I just got into my way. I just kept getting into my way. I kept second guessing myself. I kept questioning it. And it was funny because during the period of preparation before the actual event, I had another day where I said, I'm actually going to block off this evening. Nobody's going to interrupt me. I'm going to do my final, revision of it. And I got a call from the hospital to say Dad had had a fall and that we were to go. And again, he was in an ambulance and being brought to A&E. And I said to my dad, I said, are you for real? I said, are you really doing this to me, Dad? Do you understand? And the girl, the nurse that was with me, she said, but maybe and this is the truth. This is the truth. And I did not hear it. I now know I heard it, but I didn't hear it on the day. She said to me, do you not think he's trying to tell you something? And I said, yeah, like, what is he trying to tell me that I'm not good? She says, don't be worrying, just do it. Just be yourself. I was like, yeah, okay. But I didn't hear it. And so the theatre was full of people the next morning because there was 15 different talks, I think, on at different times. It was a little break. And we, it was very well managed, very well organized, and people, the kind of similar, there wasn't too many similar talks grouped together. So you'd have 2 or 3 talks and then you could have a break and so on. And the one thing I made a decision not to do, and again, I think it was the wrong decision at the time, I made a decision not to sit in the theatre for anybody's talk before mine because I didn't want to be nervous or thrown off. Again, I wasn't being me. I would have absolutely loved to sit. And had I sat in the audience, because even though we did a rehearsal the night before, walking out that day was totally different. The audience was full. There was extra lights. The cameras were in a different position. And it was like standing on another planet that I'd never been on before. And had I sat in the audience to watch others, and it wasn't that I didn't want to watch them, there was a live stream, I think, upstairs, or there was a way of seeing it, but I just didn't want to take myself off track. I wanted to stay in the zone, and I wanted to just be ready to be ready to be ready. And that was huge. So as I was backstage, I'd already met my mom, and my sister had come, my kids were there, and some friends were there. And I was like, this is what I've always wanted. This is what I had on my vision board. This is exactly where I'm meant to be. Why? Oh, why does it not feel good? Why does it not feel good? And it was like I was not grounded. I was in my head. I was not being aligned with who I really am. And I would have been before it and immediately afterwards, but for some reason, and this is why I feel it's really important to share the story about this experience, because if it helps others to go through the process, and yes, every person will have their own individual experience and everything, you know, a lesson to learn from it for yourself, absolutely. But if I could cut out an awful lot of wasted time and energy for you, then I'm delighted. I'm glad to take the hit for that. Absolutely. There was a big reason why I had to do it in the way I did. So I was backstage, had all my cue cards. A friend, a colleague that I would have worked with on the Chamber of Commerce years ago, was helping everybody get ready backstage, you know. And he said to me, B, what are you doing? You don't need the cue cards. I said, no, I do. I can't remember anything. It's a blur. He said, no, come on, let's go. So I gave him the cue cards and I couldn't remember. And then he was like, okay, hold them. And then I couldn't remember. And I was like, this is too much. I'm on in 20 minutes. How am I going to do this? And I had my phone and I checked my phone. And there was a message in the group family chat. And the reason I'm sharing this is it gives it context that my dad had actually been rushed back into A&E, and my mom had only come home at 8 o'clock that morning and made her way, but everybody was keeping it away from me because I was going to do my TEDx talk. But the message went into the group chat instead of separately. So I think we've all experienced a message come through a group chat that maybe we go, that wasn't meant for me. So I'm reading that and I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I'm like, seriously, Dad? This is really pushing it now. Poor Daddy, you know, obviously he wasn't well. But I walked out onto that stage, a stage I've walked onto many, many, many times, stood on the red spot. Now, the red spot is really, for me, from a holistic point of view and the work I do with healing and chakras and all of that, the red spot should be the most perfect thing to stand on, to ground you, to have you grounded and ready, and to take a breath and deliver your talk. Now, there is a clock on the stage that nobody else sees but you, and it's the countdown clock. So you're watching that. That's going to come to, you know, if you go over 15 minutes, it's okay, but it's not really allowed. They want you to spread an idea worth spreading or share an idea worth spreading within the 15-minute time frame. And 15 minutes is not an awful long time, but it can feel like a lifetime if you're standing on stage like a rabbit caught in the headlights. And that's what I felt like. And I've been, honest to God, I can't overemphasize how natural it is for me to stand on stage, but that day just was not natural. So I started to speak and I gave my talk. And there was a little bit of, I love the interaction with the audience. So as you can imagine, I couldn't really see them. And I know it's a dark theater, but that engagement for me was missing, just to connect with the audience. Now, when I was, and you'll see it when you look at the talk, there's a part where I say something, you know, do you remember this? Maybe it was your favorite song. And then somebody's phone rings in the audience. And I said, oh, maybe it's your favorite ringtone. And that's me. You know, that's the natural me where you could just jump in and jump out. But it still was like, I don't even remember saying that. So anyway, I'd say it was 14 minutes, 45 seconds. I can't remember what was on the screen. Finished it. Got quite emotional in the last. I actually watched my talk again today so that I'd have the real feeling of that experience, because I never wanted to watch it after I did it. I didn't want to see the edit coming. I didn't want to know. I was like, oh my God, I've just put myself, my vulnerable, you know, self on the stage to talk about my life, my divorce, my relocation to the village, the heartache that my children went through, the pain that I went through, and my dad being sick in the background was all in this emotional turmoil. So the last couple of words, you can already see that the tears are coming down, and I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that. But on the day, I thought off that stage I would never get. I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating. My son came around backstage to say goodbye and tell me how great it was. I was like, what? Were you in the same room as me? I was like, and he was like, Mom, what are you talking about? It was brilliant. I was like, I can't breathe. I can't talk. I said, I never, ever, ever want to think about this moment again. And then I said to myself, I can't wait to do my next TEDx talk. And genuinely, I said that because I said, next time it will be totally different. And it took six weeks. It literally took 6 weeks for the edits to be done. Now, my dad was getting progressively worse after that. All I wanted to do after that time on stage, got my mum home, and my sister was home from Australia to see Dad because he hadn't been well. All I wanted to do was get to the hospital to see Dad because I knew he had gone through a difficult 24 hours, and that was really what my priority was. And we were driving to the hospital, and I was bawling, and I just kept saying to my sister, I've wanted to do this for so long. This has been on my vision board for 10 years. This has been an opportunity that I've been waiting for, and it was a disaster. She said, no, it wasn't. I said, no, it was. Oh, no, it was absolutely a disaster. She said, no, it wasn't, B. It was really good. I said, no. I'm telling you how I feel. I know what I felt, and I don't want to see that YouTube clip. How do I stop it going out? I know there was people, these were real thoughts that went through my head. I know there was people in the audience who saw me and experienced it, but I had no memory. I could not recall what I said, how I looked. I couldn't recall any of it. It was a complete blur. And the experience was like totally out of body experience. It was bizarre. Anyway, got to see Dad. He wasn't great, but we were chit-chatting away. And then as in a lot of things, if I've experienced, and I have experienced challenges and difficult situations, absolutely, in my life. And they usually impact me for about 24, 48 hours. I go into a shutdown. I start to process it in my head. Then I release it and say, okay, it's done. It's gone. I have to keep moving forward. What did I learn from it? And as I thought about it for the few days afterwards, I thought, why was I such a goody two-shoes following the rules? Why did I do what I was told? I could have pretended, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and then walk out and do what I wanted to do without being disrespectful. And I mean that. It sounds like the rules are really stringent, but it's things like you can't mention your business, you can't sell a product, you can't promote a service. Absolutely. But because of that, I thought, I am a product. I am the service. Everything that I do is me. I don't have a product that I sell. It's me. So that kind of probably gave me a bit of a block on it. So I just thought, I just thought to myself, I've spent 6 or 8 weeks overthinking this process when really I should have just enjoyed it. But it's done and it's gone, and you got to move on. So my dad passed away on the 12th of August. And I think, which again is about 6 weeks from yesterday. And it was actually 6 weeks to the day because it was a Saturday that we did the TEDx. And I think it was the week after that the edit came out on YouTube. And I got a message on my phone. I think it was through the group chat that we had. And the message was, your videos are all ready to be uploaded. They're uploaded to YouTube. And I was in the house with my mom and my sister and a few people that were up, at the funeral had taken place, I think. So it was probably a week and 2 or 3 days. Anyway, the first thing I did was I wanted to watch that. I said, you need to rip the Band-Aid off and you need to sit down by yourself now. I didn't want anybody else with me. And I said, I need to play this talk and I need to watch it. And I watched it, and I watched it like I was watching somebody I didn't know, because I was like, that is not how I experienced it. That is so not how I experienced it. I was like, I said everything I wanted to say. It's actually okay. Actually, I'm proud to share it. I was like, what went on? And I will and hope to do another TEDx talk. I might even do a TEDx talk on how not to do a TEDx talk. Maybe that's what my talk should be. I don't know. But it's like the challenges and the emotions that came up with it. Yes, I did have a topic that was going to bring a lot to the head, because I was reviewing my life here over 18 years. I found letters that I was part of a support group for people who were going through bereavement and divorce. So that whole kind of support, and I was a facilitator, and I would have done some talks about that. And I found a letter a talk I had written in 2008 to deliver to a group of people who were part of that network. And it was exactly like my TED talk. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I thought, this is coming full circle. There was, excuse the pun with the red spot, but it did come full circle, because it was so cathartic and it was so liberating I had to release all of that. I had to share all of that. And for me, I had to do it in that experience. I had to go through the pain, the fear, the overthinking. I had to be told several times, just be yourself. And I wasn't. And then when I was myself afterwards, I went, okay, that's my biggest lesson. And when I look at, the little sections that I wanted to include in this, inspired action, believe it, and you will achieve it, and be your true, authentic self professionally and personally. They are so important to me now. They always were, but the authenticity of what you see is what you get. It's like, why would we try to be something that we're not? And I think that was probably my biggest lesson. This is me. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And it's not, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like, it's about aligning with your true self, so that you are who you say you are. You do what you say you will do, and you be who you want to be, and you have fun. Like, I'm fun kind of person. I'm a light energy person. I'm somebody who, I suppose maybe the small spot on the stage is not me. I need to be moving around and dancing and shaking and all that. So maybe I need a huge red spot if I'm doing it again, that allows me to move around. And maybe that's who I am. And that's not who I felt I was on the stage. But I'm very grateful that when I did look at it afterwards, and you can tell me what you think. I mean, it's not getting, huge amount of traction. I would love it to be shared, because I think it is an idea worth sharing. I think it is a message worth sharing. The questions that I use all the time with my clients are, tuning into, how do you feel right now? How would you like to feel right now? And what do you need right now? Are those powerful questions that allow us to create the very experiences that we want. And the irony of me sharing that when I was like, whoa, in a whole other planet. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? So what I wanted to say then, and I think I've covered most of that with, that fear-based thought, false evidence appearing real, the panic that just kept going on. I don't want to see it. 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 And I thought, I've never done anything that I've put my name to that I don't want to see or I don't want to stand by. And this was probably the biggest, if you think of it, if you wanted to go global, which I would love it to go global, that you're on this global stage, and it's the one time you're on the global stage and you're like, I want to be hiding. I don't want to be on the global stage. And I love nothing more than being on stage in the nicest possible way of sharing and engaging. And you know, when I do MC for fashion shows and for anywhere that there's a bit of a buzz and energy going, I believe my role as a coach comes into play there hugely, because I'm sharing with people the ability to be confident that it's okay. We don't have to take ourselves seriously. We are all really good at what we do, no matter what that is. And to have that, you know, inner confidence, not arrogance, not conceitedness, but that real inner confidence of knowing I am enough. I matter. You know, what I have to say is important. So when I look at that, and you look at your authentic self, and Anna, maybe this is something you've worked on or seen before, I just wanted to flag that when we're being our authentic self personally and professionally, you know, it's like what you see is what you get across the board. So you're looking at your values, you're looking at what makes your heart sing, what makes you jump out of bed in the morning, what gives you joy and laughter and happiness, you know, where's your energy being raised? And like, think of yourself at work or home with friends, with colleagues. I'm blessed. I go into classrooms where there's 11 and 12-year-olds, you know, and they love the buzz. So, you know, they're full of lightness when you're with them, and they're like, oh, I wish you were in our class every day. And I was like, geez, your teachers have their work cut out for them. I'm glad I'm only here for 40 minutes. It's great. You know, we'd have a little bit of banter with that. But I'm the same in a classroom with 11 and 12-year-olds as I am in a corporate room with 500 people. Okay, I might use different terminology or be able to express things in a different way, but I'm the very same. What you see is what you get. And I think that's where the authenticity is very important for me, to just be, without using the pun on the word there, but to just be.
Be.
So, yeah, exactly. So what I wrote down, just to kind of share with you, I hope we're okay time-wise, what I learned, and I wanted to write this down because everything I need, this is what I've learned, everything I need is already within me. My story, my message doesn't need to be scripted. So trust yourself and your authenticity. Stay in your own lane. We get pulled out of our lane all the time, going, oh, maybe we should do it this way. Or maybe that person in the audience wants to hear it this way. Or maybe. No, stay in your own lane. You'll get there in the time that's right for you. Follow the rules I have here. Why? Just, you know, what are the rules to be your true self? And just be yourself. You know, rules maybe isn't the word to use in that, but I definitely was following the rules. And what I would do differently. So I wouldn't change a single thing, because I had to go through it that way and learn what I've learned. But what I would do differently, and this might help you then as well, if you would like to do something like this, trust the process. Don't over prepare. Everything you've done to date prepares you for what you're doing. You know, if you're living and breathing what you believe in, whether it's to do it personally or professionally, you already have it. It's all already inside you. It's just like sharing a story with someone you know. And then tune in and ground yourself. Even if you're standing on a red spot, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be grounded. So I was flighty. I was too flighty beforehand. Like, I've been on that stage before when my son was young. Now, my son is now an actor and a singer, and he's been on stage plenty, and so is my daughter. But I would have been on stage doing, we had a thing called Meads Got Talent. So we had a lot of people in and the judges and all of that. I have vivid memories of my son at 6 and 7 hanging out of my leg backstage, crying, telling me, get mom, I need this, mom, I need that. And I'm like losing the plot. And then, hey, you step onto stage and you're ready, you're in the zone. I know how to jump from those things, but for whatever reason that day, I think I jumped too far and I was in a different zone. So if it is something that you would like to do, just do it. Just be yourself, step out of the comfort zone and onto the red spot. And that red spot can be anything that you want it to be. It may be a TEDx talk, but it might be something else on the way to that. And also as well, excuse me, if you need anything support wise, or you want to talk to me about anything, or you want to reach out, and a lot of the work I do with my clients would be interview preparation, presentation preparation, pitch preparation. So there's a lot of things around that. So if there's ever anything that might help you move in that direction, I'd be delighted to help.
Thank you for that. I mean, thank you for not just offering to help, but for all of that. I mean, I'm just seeing the faces here. We were like, I mean, this capacity you have to talk 45 minutes in the most natural, engaging way, with not a single slide, without notes. It came straight from the heart, yet the structure was there, as in it's not that.
Yeah.
I think that's why I have my notes, is I'm scared that I'll go all over the place if I don't have something to grab.
Yeah, it's nice to have the structure.
But it was very humble what you shared. And to be honest, I mean, I know a few TEDx speakers. I don't think well, no, it's not. I don't think. I know I have never, ever heard anybody share with such humility, vulnerability, this whole process that you went through. And whether we do and whether we don't, you have sort of taken from the terror, you've humanized the idea of a TEDx talk, I would say, and all of that. About the only difference was that, because it was called a TEDx talk, because, there was these cameras and these other people around you, that you then doubted your abilities to have a talk. And when you get out of your own way, and as you say, just do it, prepare. Yes, we don't want to just start rambling, whatever, but I guess they help you with the script and all of that. So, I mean, thank you for taking us through your personal journey, and I certainly hope you will have another one and see what takes you'll have on that and what experience that one will be. But are there any questions? We have sort of 8 or so minutes left. Does anybody have any, questions? I mean, obviously it's very clear that you can ask B anything, whether it's the technical side or whether it's the emotional side, or who has a question? I know there was one further up. Yes,
Anna.
Anna, yeah.
No, I just loved listening to you. I think it's
thank you, Anna.
As we said, the authenticity, the naturalness, and really getting down to what really matters. Just getting out of any ego or any because and then I think it's just wonderful. So thank you. I really learned a lot, made a few notes, and in fact something I would like to have an opportunity to speak to you separately for youngsters, because I have some challenges with teenagers, not mine, but so no, I really thank you. I really got so much out of it, and you've given that sense of humanity to it. There is humility, humanity, which is what I admire and what I stand for.
That's brilliant. So, thank you. And because it seems like it's such a mammoth task, or, actually, when I spoke to some of the kids in the school, because I have a podcast as well called TLC with B, that is for, it's called Talking Leaving Cert and Other Life Stuff. So it's for teenagers, Anna, but also teachers and parents and that. So when I talk to the kids in school about the podcast, and I say to them, I did a does anybody ever hear of a TEDx? Like, I love to share with them what I can. And they were like, you're not supposed to be famous, to be a TEDx speaker. I said, well, hopefully I'll be famous after I do it. But I said, you don't have to be famous to do it. And it was a real there's that thought that, the perception, wow, what did they do to get to that stage, and how did they do it? When actually it's available probably for all of us to take that chance. And again, a nod to Micheline for sending me the link to say, should you do it? And I was like, yes, you should. And so should I. And I'm so glad that we got to share the stage with each other for the TEDx as well. And, I think that over the years, and as age comes, obviously maturity is great and hindsight is good, and life experience can really give us, and that real sense of, and particularly even since my lovely daddy, there he is, he always has my back, since he passed as well. It's like, what, life is too short to be stressed or to be worried or to be anxious, even though it can happen. And I'm not making light of that, but it's like, what's important? Can we look at what's important? And I can't wait till I get an opportunity to step, some people think I can be a bit extra because I'm so positive and I'm quite hyper and I'm like, really? Wait till you see me the next time. Oh my God, it's just going to be bigger and bigger. But I mean that from, let's spread the wealth and the joy and the fun, let's keep it that way. But working with kids really gives you that sense of laughter and lightness.
And because you're fueled by your message, right? You know, the whole thing is it's an idea worth sharing. So it's you have this thing, you have this idea, you have this message that you want to share. And then it's to really embody that, to think, well, if I have this message and it's worthy, nothing should stop me getting it out there to serve other people.
Yes, yes, exactly. So I'm hoping that I can tell you all, you know, in 6 months' time, now that it's a year, there's 647 views. Some of the talks have had 6,000 or 20,000, and that's all amazing. I will hope that I'll be able to say to you, mine will have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. It's not even about the numbers, but it's like the message, as you say, if more and more people can hear it, I believe it is an idea worth sharing.
And I think somehow it happens when we let go of the expectation, right?
Yes,
when we serve the one as we wish to serve the many.
Yes.
You know, that then because we're doing it just because of the worthiness of the message and the people that we want to impact, that it then takes a life of its own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel so grateful and privileged to have the position, to have the opportunity, should I say, to do this with you today, because it is something that I've wanted to share, you know, so that it takes that kind of fear out of it, and that, yes, it's really important to say I've been a TEDx speaker, but it's not as important or any more important than, yeah, I'm B. Flanagan. I'm a life and business coach. I'm a teen coach. I'm a sister. I'm a mother. I'm, you know, I'm me. Just be yourself.
I think you've made it very real. I think you've made it very real. Just how you've explained how it is, even the process and the audition and the scripts and the draft 1, 2, 3 and the lights and the cameras and all the things that go through your head. You've made it really real. It's not something like out there, up there, you know, not for me. But, you know, we can all do this when we get out of our own way.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any more questions? Anyone have a question? Well, we've all certainly got to go and watch it. And I'm very ashamed to say that I didn't. I didn't have time to watch it before. So I will. And I will certainly make sure it goes global. I'm based in the Netherlands and I've lived in 25 different places. So I shall share it all over that.
And actually, it might be better that you do watch it now after you hear the background of it. So it might be a different feeling watching it now.
Well, it's going to be really in context, because now we know what was going on inside of you while you were standing there, right? It's going to make it even more impressive.
Yeah,
and that you did it full stop with all the stuff that was going on, actually, to be honest, as well.
Yeah,
right?
And I think I could have probably stepped back. You know, it was the time in my life where you could have said, this is not the time to do it. You know, there's a lot of other stuff going on. But for some reason, I was just drawn to keep going. Even though it was a hard struggle, I was like, there's some meaning behind this. And, you know, even my dad, in his wisdom before he passed, was trying to say to me, and I think that's the important thing as well. When I mentioned earlier on about liking the sound of your own voice, my dad lost his voice towards the end of his life, and his illness took his voice. So he could, and he was a great speaker, he was a singer, he was a performer, and he lost his voice. And if I could have had his voice back for him, even to just speak a little bit. So use your voice and be proud of it and be happy with it.
Yeah, beautiful.
I just step in? Sorry, it's Michigan. I am a personal friend of Bee's, and she's absolutely amazing. And yes, I told her about it because I just thought it would be the perfect thing for Bee to do. Because I've been at events where Bee did workshops and talks and events and stuff like that, and she's just such a natural and amazing. And when I hear her talking here today and how she felt before her TEDx talk, and I knew what was going on in her life beforehand. I had stuff too, and many times I wanted to pull back and say I wasn't going to do it. And I spoke to Bea before about it and saying I want to pull out, but she kept me going, and she had her own life, and it was just amazing. And all the fear that she had, everybody has that. And Bea went and still did it. So feel the fear and do it anyway. And a lot of people can steer you off and put you off. but there's a lot of people out there can go on and cheer you on and make you do it. And I definitely would have probably pulled out if Bea hadn't been there, or and said what she did, or the support that she gave. And I was so happy that we were on stage the same day and to share our stories together. So I'm very grateful, and I, like Bea, I will do it again at some stage too. And
course you will.
it's taught me so much, and he teaches me so much, a lot, all the time. And if ever I want to do something, I always go to Bea for reassurance as well, or support. So she's amazing. If anybody out there wants to do something like that or something similar, Bea
Thank
is the
you.
one to contact. So
Thank
I
you,
just want
Micheline.
to
And that was a
Thank you,
good point as well. Surround yourself by people who are going to uplift you and be there for you, right? Because there'll always be
it's
people
very
around us who
important.
bring us
Don't
down.
listen to
Yeah.
the people that are
Yeah.
gonna put fear in your way, because
Yeah.
if you did that, you would never do what you want to do in life. And life is for
Exactly.
living, not for not for
Absolutely.
you've got to live for
And
what you want to do in life.
You can all find Micheline's talk as well on YouTube.
Yeah, we should look it up as well.
Yeah.
And all your
Thanks,
details,
Micheline.
Bea, will be in the show notes, right? So that we know how to get
Yes.
hold of you as well, all the things that you've mentioned as well, how you help, how you help people. So thank you all. Thank you all for having made time to be here today. Don't forget to put
Thank
your
you.
lessons learned in your CPD pads, of course. And looking forward to
Thanks for that.
seeing lots more of you on the list of TEDx speakers wherever you
Yes,
are, right?
yes,
A challenge
yes.
to all of us. Take
Thank
care
you
and
all
see you at
so
the next
much.
one.
Thanks,
Bea,
Lillian.
thank you very,
Thank you,
very, very
Julie.
much.
Take
Bye.
care. Talk to you soon, Anna.
Bye,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.